Recently, we went for a tour around the Triumph factory in Hinckley, near Birmingham in the UK. This is a tour which costs, at the time of filming in March 2025, £30 per person, and it is recommended to pre-book to avoid disappointment. They offer tours Wednesday through Sunday at various times. There is also a free exhibition at the factory, a cafe and a shop with some great Triumph motorcycles, engines and other bits on display. I can highly recommend doing the free parts known as the factory visitor experience, even if you don't pay to do the factory tour. The exhibition isn't massive. If you did an in-depth look at everything, it would probably take 30 to 40 minutes. But there are a lot of great bikes on display. My favourite was the 6T Thunderbird and the original bike from The Great Escape. I left with a greater appreciation of classic motorcycles, and also wishing Triumph would bring back the lovely orange and purple colours they had on some of the old bikes. The shop had a decent selection of gear, clothing and little gifts. The cafe was reasonably priced, offering light bites like sandwiches and scones, etc. The main part of the visit, though, was a 90-minute tour of the factory. For this, they don't allow photos or video, hence why I have nothing to show from this part. However, our tour lasted about 2 hours in the end. We did it on a Saturday afternoon, and the factory was quiet with no work going on. At other times, it is busy and noisy with work. Some might like to see work going on, but personally I like the more quiet setting, being able to get up close to parts and spend time seeing them unrushed and unflustered. The tour started with a little bit about Triumph and how big it is globally. We then took a walk through floor-to-ceiling racks of parts. From this we entered another area where about 8,000 finished bikes were waiting to be shipped out, each one of them sold. Also, we learned that when a new model comes out, about 2,000 bikes are needed pretty quickly for press and demo bikes. This is a very impressive operation. Other areas we visited had large machines for fabricating the crankshafts, ovens for hardening metal parts, and instruments which measure to make sure that the parts are finely machined correctly. It was a large operation, and they have recently upped their capacity to take more bikes and parts. We were led through cells which had a specific task to build up an engine. It was all very fascinating to see how much work and intricacy goes into making a motorcycle. We then saw how they are embracing new technologies such as 3D printing to prototype and try out parts and get feedback from customers. We also saw how parts are painted and custom paint jobs and pinstriping is done. We also learned then about the process for testing bikes, which is a lengthy multi-year task with lots of miles and feedback. And we also learned a little bit about the secretive nature of the research that goes on, that even the factory workers don't know what future projects are being worked on. Then we went along to the assembly line, where a completed bike comes off roughly every 10 minutes. It was interesting to see bikes in various stages of completion as we walked round, and also to see how it is a mammoth operation needing many parts and people to run smoothly and make sure a bike is correctly made and ready to go. There was a section where they tested and checked for quality. This involved rolling roads and also just people generally checking over the bike visually on an inspection, as well as an area where a man disassembles a random bike and rebuilds it to make sure that everything is correct. Then a further section dealt with Triumph's involvement in Moto2 racing. As we headed back to the end of the tour, there were some bikes from the earliest days of the Bloor family's ownership right through to the current day on display in the racks. It was interesting to see how they have evolved over the years, but also try to keep true to classic bikes that they have made. All in all, it was a good experience. However, there was a lot of walking and standing about the whole time. You don't get to sit down once in the 90 minutes to 2 hours. It was advertised at 90 minutes, but the tour guide went 2 hours, which was a little long for me. It was great that he was passionate about Triumph and how they are made, but it was a lot to take in, and standing for long periods wasn't fun. I would have liked it to be a little shorter, then have the option to ask questions in a more comfortable setting after if you wanted. But is it worth £30? It is a fair chunk of change, but it is a unique experience. And whether you're a Triumph fan or just like motorbikes in general, it is fascinating to see what goes into making them and how intricate it is. How many cogs need to move and be in place globally for a bike to come together successfully. I would certainly recommend it as an interesting experience. Coupled with the nearby National Motorcycle Museum, it would make a great day out for the motorbike lover.